Chris Lovell here with another edition of Patriot Talk. Colton Coons taking care of us behind the camera as always, and I'm pleased to be joined by Lamar Kello, or with Lamar Kello today, baseball coach over at Lubbock Cooper Liberty High School. Second season on the cusp of getting underway. Had big first year for Coach Kello and the Patriots last year. 24-12, third in the district, 4 rounds deep. Pretty solid start, man, for like year one without maybe not real sure what to expect.
Yeah, it was. It was a great year. We did have 2 really good teams in the district that was why we did finish third. But one of those teams that was in the district with us also advanced to the 4th round, just like we did. And then another one we beat in the 3rd round to get to the 4th round. So even though Idalou had finished ahead of us in district, we did beat them in the playoff series. So it was a good 3A district, and we had some good success and a great start to a program and set a bar real high. That's what I told the boys. They set the bar high. Now it's time to go clear it again.
Yeah, which did it. Okay, after you had time to reflect and look back on it, did it exceed your expectations?
It did. I'll be honest. I've been coaching. This is my 27th year, and I've spent a lot of that time in 3A, and so I knew what 3A was, and I did feel like we would have a really good opportunity to do what we did. But we did go a little bit beyond what I had expected. I did expect to make the playoffs fully. I expected to compete for a district championship, which the team that won district, we did beat them one time in district. So, so we did that. As far as going 4 rounds deep, that's probably where I might have, we might have surpassed a little bit more of than what I thought might have happened, but it was a heck of a year.
Yeah, great memories. And the beauty of your situation is, because you were rolling with all sophomores last year, sophomores and freshmen, is that now nobody graduated.
That's right.
This is a team that went 4 rounds deep. All of them come back, and you just kind of add to it. You're better, you're stronger, all that stuff. Because now you're moving into 4A, and we'll talk about that. It's a completely different district and all that. But as you put together, knowing what you had and knowing you're moving into 4A and all that, did you do anything different with your schedule to prepare for that, or to test them, or to anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year we played in 3 tournaments. That's what our limit is, and 2 of the 3 tournaments last year were basically 3A tournaments with some 4A teams in them. One of them was a 4A tournament where we've kind of played up. But this year we are playing in 2 4A tournaments, but not just 4A tournaments. We're going east towards Dallas because we're District 5, which means in the playoffs we play District 6, which means we're playing people all the way out towards Fort Worth. And so we're trying to get an idea of what we're going up against. And so we're going to 2 tournaments, Brownwood and Glen Rose, where those are hosted by teams that are possible playoff opponents. Okay. So we are wanting to see some of that, and there's some pretty high level competition there. We're playing a defending state champ in one of those tournaments, but then in the 3rd week tournament, we're going to come back and we're going to play in the Lubbock tournament and face 5As. They didn't give us any 6As this year, but we'll be playing some 5As and some 4As in the Lubbock tournament.
Okay, good. Yeah, and that's, again, there's people can view it, you try to go stack up wins, or you just try to get better, or, there's no, you're not going to suffer any consequences if you don't do well. Then you're trying to figure out, how much pitching do I have? How many guys does this lineup combination work? All that stuff. That's the beauty of tournament season. When I had you on last year, I'm a big, and I think fans are in general, they love uniforms. You guys looked great last year, and you had different jerseys and all that stuff. Did we tweak anything? Is it all back the same?
Well, so we added a team, okay? We added a freshman team.
And now,
right? Okay. So if you have 2 teams, you have 2 sets of uniforms. If you have 3 teams, you have to have more uniforms. Well, it just didn't seem right to give the freshmen the new uniforms, So the JV and the freshmen will use last year's uniforms, and the varsity will get to come out in some new duds.
Okay.
So,
okay.
The kids, I'm not a big pinstripe guy, but the kids had asked for pinstripes. All right, we'll do you some pinstripes. So
Okay.
so we'll wear some pinstripes, some navy pinstripes for some home games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still going with the baby blues?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, is that your favorite?
I like that. I like
Okay.
doing that. It's like old school '80s baseball vibe to it.
Reminds me of the Rangers, the Brewers.
Yeah, the Rangers are doing it now.
Brewers,
It's it all comes back. Everybody did it in the '80s, and they're all starting to do it again.
Retro.
Yeah,
that's right. That's exactly right. Okay, so we got schedule, we got uniforms. There's something else on the cusp. Is that I know you guys are all ready for this, all ready for it. Everybody's ready for it, but at some point here, pretty quick. Define pretty quick, Chris. I can't define pretty quick. I'm not real sure exactly, but on the verge of moving into your brand new stadium.
That's right.
And where you have a home and all that stuff. I'm sure you are excited just to have a home base and probably just some anticipation, just like Joe was with football and all that, being able to have, just a home field advantage of sorts and all that stuff. Take me through that dynamic.
Yeah, obviously, we're looking forward to it. We have so many great benefits and advantages to what we have going for us, that, it is a little bit of a headache not having that home base right now and having to do this and that and make, adjustments and scrimmage on the road and practice after Cooper. So there's definitely some trials to it, but, we know that we got a lot of good things going for us, and pretty soon, this year we will be playing on our field, and it will be great when we get to do that. It will be great when school ends and we can walk out there and start practicing, as opposed to what we go through right now. It'll be great, but we know that it's just part of it, and you got these big projects, and it takes time. It takes time to make things the right way, and so we're all doing the best we can, and we're gonna keep making do with whatever we have to make do until we get to enjoy the benefits of it.
I got you. There you go. Okay, your nucleus. Obviously, when you don't graduate anybody, everybody's back, and so I don't know how much will you kind of tweak what it all looks like on the field. I mean, you start to fiddle around with. I mean, you can never have enough pitching, but I mean, take me through that now. And I can ask you about some guys, but I'm just curious.
Sure, and it's a very unique situation. I mean, we're talking about a situation that people don't deal with. I mean, yes, no one graduated, but then on the other hand, we're talking about 15-year-old kids, and they don't all develop at the same rate. And it's easy for a kid who's 14 to grow, and then a year later, all of a sudden, now he's a 15-year-old, and he might not have been as good as that 15-year-old last year, but now he's past him. We've got a lot of competition for some spots out there. We obviously have some great returning kids that will have no issues, holding on to what they got. But we do have plenty of kids out there that maybe didn't develop quite as soon as somebody else. And so last year they were not as involved, and this year they may be more involved. And it'll be real interesting to see. It'll be great for us. It just makes us a better team because they have competition amongst themselves to become a starter, and that can only make you better. So we're looking forward to that. But we will have obviously 9 returning starters. Will all 9 of them start? First day. I don't know. We'll see. They might because they're pretty strong. But we do have some good ones coming in there with them. And then pitching wise. Kessler was pretty much our number one guy all last year. There were a few playoff weekends where Harrison was jumping in there, and Harrison Vitz, he looked every bit as good as Kessler. There was weeks where it just looked like we had 2 number one pitchers out there. So those 2 guys are both back and expecting great things out of them. But we've also gained some, and man, we had one out there the other day that. He really surprised me. He upped his velo from last year about 8 miles an hour on his fastball, and so you see those changes in kids, and that's the thing. You don't. You're talking like major league guys. That's where people don't graduate. No one graduates in the major leagues, but people don't advance that much. People don't gain that much in the major leagues because they're already up at such a high level. When you're talking kids that are not physically matured yet, you can see those big jumps, and so it'll be interesting to see how those mix in with the kids who did most of it last year. The kids that have kind of progressed and grown more, and see how they figure in.
Yeah, because 8 miles an hour velo is a big difference.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of difference in a fastball.
Yeah,
From one year to the next.
Okay, moving up from 3A to 4A. We just talked about that to 3A, and now you move up to 4A. Is there just? We'll get into your specific district, but generally speaking, is that how much difference is there in the level of play there?
Well,
And you could even argue it may not be as
there
good
will
in some
there will
ways.
definitely be a higher level in general. However, like Shallowater and Idalou, pretty top notch. Like the bottom of that district last year, definitely much weaker. Our district top to bottom this year will be much more of a challenge than the bottom three in the district last year. But I don't know. It remains to be seen if there's going to be people that are going to challenge us as much as Shallowater and Idalou did at the top of that district. Now, once we get outside the district, we ran into quite a team last year in Brock in the fourth round, and Brock is a potential first round opponent this year. So they're in the district right next to us. They moved up to 4A also, and they are a small school in the 4A, just like we're a small school in 4A. So they're a very possible playoff opponent. So when the playoffs start, it will definitely be a good jump in the quality of opponent. District wise, as far as winning the district, I don't know that it'll be any tougher than winning it was last year, which we fell short on that, but that'll definitely be the goal this year, is to come out on top in that district. But the bottom of the district will definitely be there. There won't be any easy games like we had last year in our district.
And what I hear you saying is it's kind of a compliment to Idalou and Shallowater.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're
traditionally salty and
absolutely
very good. Yeah, but Estacado, Big Spring, Snyder, Lakeview, and Levelland is kind of, and you will play them. It's like this three-way dance where you play all 5 of them, then you start it over and play them again, and then do it again. It's 15.
Yeah,
games.
These coaches, I jumped into, they've been in a district without us, for quite a while. Sweetwater was with them, and Sweetwater has just dropped down to 3A. So those 5 schools have been together for, I think, like 6 years in the district. So they're kind of accustomed to doing things a certain way, and we just stepped in there where Sweetwater had been in their district, and these coaches wanted to play 3 rounds, and I didn't have any issue with it. If I would have, it probably wouldn't have mattered because it would have been a 5-1 vote, and we'd have still done it. But I'm good with it. You can't have a 2-way tie with somebody if you play them 3 times. We could end up with a 3-way tie, but we can't have a 2-way tie, and so that's kind of nice. As far as your playoff seedings and things like that. So we will be playing everybody 3 times. That's kind of different than anybody else. Volleyball, basketball, no one does that. I've never played everybody 3 times in a baseball district either. So that'll be different, and we'll have to get started as soon as our third tournament ends. We'll jump right in, and we'll have 15. Yeah. You're allowed 17 games plus 3 tournaments, and we're at 15 district games. So that pretty much takes up our schedule there. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
And again, you added that freshman team. What does that do to how many number of players are in your program now at this point? Like, how many would you carry on varsity? what did it do to your numbers in general?
Right. Well, we are, carrying 54. 55. We're carrying 55 this year. I don't set a exact number. I have a ballpark and see where the dividing line is. I don't want to put a kid on a team just because I said there was supposed to be that many on a team. Whenever that doesn't make any sense. Like, why put 2 more on there when I know they're never going to play? If that's where the line was, then so be it. That's where the line would be. And I was planning on having 20 on the varsity this year, and I think that's probably what I'm going to end up having. I'm starting with 18, but I plan on probably moving a couple more up after some scrimmage evaluations and things. So I think we're going to have 20 on the varsity. And then the JV and the freshmen both, I definitely didn't want to restrict myself with a number. I just wanted to make sure that we were getting all the kids that would have, that could possibly be help for us in the future, and where to draw that line. If we already already have 16, 17 on that freshman team, and then we have a drop off in ability, then let's go ahead and cut the line right there. Just wherever the line seems to fall, that's where we wanted to put it, and so that's what we're doing. We're going to end up with around 16 to 18 on each of those teams this year.
But, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just kind of have to do the best you can, and it's a tough call. You mentioned some of the guys. You mentioned Castler Wicks. You mentioned Harrison Vitz, Jackson Payne, Jackson Gonzalez, Gavin McPherson. I'll probably leave somebody out, and I'm not trying to name everybody, but it was a good nucleus, and you had some all district type players and all that stuff. Did you add anybody? Because I think I named Caden Brewer. He's now able to join the team after having to play JV last year. Did anybody move in? Anybody, anybody like that?
Yeah.
Kind of adds a
so
dynamic?
Caden Brewer was on the JV last year as a sophomore. Like you said, he was having to play JV last year, and he's somebody that'll be in the mix for some playing time, both in the field and on the mound. We do have a sophomore new kid this year, Maddox Metcalf, who is a little left-handed pitcher. He's not going to come in and throw 95 and be our ace or anything like that, but he's a very solid little pitcher. And
if he was throwing 95, I would say
you would have already known about it.
I was about to say he might not spend all of his years in high school.
But he's a good little left-handed pitcher that's new to us this year. We have a couple of freshmen that are making some noise, not necessarily don't know where they're going to fit in just yet, but we do have some freshmen that are going to push these kids. We had some good players on the JV that last year that are going to push our older kids, and there's also a couple freshmen that are going to come in and push those kids, and that's what happens. It's one thing to have 9 returning starters, but then you also that sometimes there's people in grades below them that come in and it's like, oh, wait a minute, the basketball team saw that. Basketball teams trotting out 3 freshmen on the varsity basketball team, so they weren't even in the school building last year, and they're making a big impact on the basketball team, and it's possible that we could see a little bit of that on baseball. We won't see as much so as what basketball's seeing with those 3 guys, but we definitely could see that.
And that's the hardest thing that I think for kids and parents that aren't on your side of it is that, well, this is how it's always been. This is what I've always played. Man, things change. People
it's
change.
Not easy.
Kids' interests change. Kids' bodies change. Kids' skills change. There's people that enter the equation, and that's just sports. That's sports, right? Okay, what you're a math guy, right? What subject do you teach?
I do Algebra 2.
Algebra 2.
Don't expose me now if I mess up on some math.
No. How did you end up as an algebra guy, like a math guy? You always numbers or
I wanted to coach,
Okay.
And if you're going to coach, you're going to teach, and I'm fine with that. When I went to college, I got the old PE certification, like a lot of them do. There's not very many PE jobs, each school's got like one of those, but they have like 12 math teachers and 12 English teachers and so on and so forth. So you're trying
to widen the plate.
And so, I was like, okay, if I'm going to teach, what should I be teaching? I should be teaching the one that I'm the best at. And so high school math, I was kind of a math nerd, I guess, in high school. Math came really easy to me in high school, easier than the other subjects. So I thought, well, if that's what I'm the best at of these subjects, that's probably what I should teach. So.
Algebra, man, yeah, that gives me nightmares. Algebra and statistics and calculus, and oh man, it's a different language to me. Well, good for you because everybody's got to have it. It's a core, it's a pillar. What is an identity of a Lamar Kello coach team? If somebody's just watching you guys from afar, you would want them to know what about your program if they were just watching it? Like how would that look?
Well, I would hope that they see a program of character, and I would hope that they would see a bunch of kids that are going to work really hard and look for places to find something positive to do for the team. It's one thing to be good, and it's one thing to know and have skills, but it's another thing to get out there and not jog to first base because it was a clean single, but hit that thing running and round it big and look for a chance for the defense to make a little mistake and push the envelope and look for all those chances. So I'd like to see us be of strong character, and doing the right things, and then just playing real gutsy kind of, hard nosed kind of game.
Because games are one of the margins. I mean, it's all those little things.
You never know.
And you never know.
It could be in the first inning, too.
That's right. And you don't know it at the time. Okay, so some baseball questions for you. Is it ever okay to wear your hat backwards?
Not very often.
Okay.
Not very often. Okay. I will give, like, if you're talking at a game or at practice, that's absolutely no, never.
So one of your players, like, there's just really not any, like, we're not doing that.
Right, no, and I'm not like no one's getting punished over that.
I know,
no one's getting punished over that. But hey, turn that around. We're not doing that.
That's right.
We're not doing that. Now you're in the dugout, kind of intense game, and we're like, I don't necessarily want to say rally cap, but like in that scenario, that situation, that's not going to bother me.
Okay.
We're kind of fired up. We're like looking for something, and you got it turned down, turn that hat around because you're intense, whatever. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But we're not gonna be taking BP at practice with our hat on backwards and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's too much swag or drip or whatever
right.
the young people
exactly.
call. Okay. There's many unwritten rules in baseball. Which is the one unwritten rule that you really follow? Like that you okay, I abide by this. I think everybody should. And, whether that's an in-game deal, whether that's not stepping on the chalk. I don't know. There's a million of them.
I am way, way less superstitious than most baseball people. Okay, so that
you are in the minority then.
That stuff really doesn't get at me. I'm not going to be like, oh, I was wearing this shirt under my jersey and this guy. I really don't. I've never done the whole not washing something. I've never done that. I don't care if I step on the line. I probably usually don't. I probably do step over the line every time, but I don't know that I worry about it. I know one thing that I won't do is I won't say anything about a no-hitter. Because
I would. There you go.
Not that I think that would cause a problem, but by gosh, I don't want to be blamed for it. If it didn't happen, I wouldn't want to be the blame for that. So if we were in the middle of a no hitter, you definitely wouldn't hear me saying, "Hey man, he hasn't given up a hit yet." I definitely wouldn't say that because I sure wouldn't want it to rest on my shoulders if I did.
Announcers always struggle with that because you have a job to do, but you're like, oh yeah. Anyway, that's a tricky one. What is the in your opinion? And the beauty of this is that there's no right answer here. But what's the hardest position to play on baseball?
That's a good question. Probably I would have to go with catcher. I think it's very demanding physically, but it's also demanding mentally. On your knees, yeah. It's hard on your body. It's a little bit harder on your brain too. But like you're just thinking about in the game. But like I feel bad for my catchers at practice because they're catchers, and so what do they get stuck to? Well, pitchers have to practice too, right? Well, if pitchers have to practice, that means catchers have to catch bullpens. So they're staying after catching bullpens. And you got 12 pitchers on your staff, and, 3 or 4 of them may do most of the pitching, but all 12 of them have to throw bullpens all the time, And so they're having to catch all that, but that's still not their defensive work. They still have to do their blocking drills and things like that. So, in game, it's probably the catcher, but when you look at the big picture of practice and all of it, I would say catcher is going to be.
That's a good call.
That's going to be tough.
Is there baseball is famously with statistics, back of baseball cards, and there's a million analytics out there and all that stuff. Is there a stat or an analytic data point that you point to and go, okay, I really lean on this, or this tells me a lot? And you can look at way too much and go, I don't even know what I'm looking at because there's just too much information. But is there one out there that you feel like, okay, I believe in this?
Okay, so I would say there's 2 things that I look at that, and one of them I don't even know. They probably do have a name for a stat of it, but I couldn't tell you. But I care more about on base average than batting average.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Because somebody that's going to take a walk or that's going to pressure the defense enough to get on by an error, things like that.
Gavin McPherson, for example.
I mean, obviously, I love a good batting average, and I'll compare kids' batting averages. I'll examine that for sure. But bottom line is, I don't care how you got on base. If you get on base, you can score runs. If you don't get on base, you can't score a run. So I'm not so worried about the batting average as much so as the on base average. So I would say I'm worried about on base average. That's a pretty big one for me. And then the other one is like strikeout percentage. I can't stand when kids aren't giving it a chance and getting the ball in play. So I'm going to, at the end of every season, well, not all throughout the season, but especially, at the end, evaluation of our kids at the postseason is I want to see, how are we putting the ball in play? Are we striking out, 15% of the time, 20% of the time, because if you strike out, you didn't move a runner over. You didn't get on by an error. You didn't do anything. You even if you make an out and no one advances, you at least pressured the defense and made them make a play. You are putting pressure on them. If you think a kid's going to make an error 1 out of every 6 attempts, well, if you have 5 strikeouts and then one person hits the ball, then he's got a pretty good odds of making that play. But if you have 6 guys hit the ball, then we have a better chance that he's going to mess up on one of those. So I look at on-base percentage and I look at strikeout percentage. Those are probably my biggest things.
If you weren't teaching and coaching, you'd be doing what?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. When I went to college, because of my math background, I thought I would go into accounting. That was I was like, okay, maybe accounting, and so
debits and credits.
I took some accounting classes. They went well as far as grades. The grades were good, but man, when I taking those classes, I was like, this life would be miserable. That's why I changed my major. I was like, I can't do this. I would hate my life sitting in an office looking at these numbers all day. I would hate my life. So now. Not then, not back in those days when I was going to school, but like now, if I was going to say, hey, if I'm going to go back in time and do it, I think I would do something with like sports rehabilitation kind of stuff, some
training?
physical therapy kind of stuff, because those people get to be involved a lot with athletics still. But the medical field is where, there's a whole lot of opportunity and things like that. I think if I went back and did it again and I didn't choose coaching, I think I might choose something like physical therapy or
PT?
something like that.
I like that. I like that. Okay, a couple things to finish up with you. And we're visiting with Lamar Kello, coach over at Lubbock Cooper Liberty, the Patriots baseball team. Season about to get underway. If you could own any pro sports franchise, which one would you own?
Well, I guess, I've never thought of owning any of them, but like my favorite by far is the Atlanta Braves. So I guess it would have to be that. I'm from.
Oh man,
I'm old enough that
David Justice.
The WTBS. Kids today just think you can watch any team anytime you want, but when I was a kid, you could watch the Cubs or the Braves, and you couldn't watch anybody else. And so I became a Braves fan at a pretty young age, and I've been a Braves fan ever since. So I guess I would have to go in that direction.
Sid Bream, Dave Justice, let's see, Chipper Jones. Who's your and then all the pitchers. Maddox,
Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, yeah. My guy, I guess I was an outfielder in college, and so like my guy was a little lesser known guy, Ron Gant. I really liked Ron Gant when I was
Andrew Jones
younger. Andrew Jones is when I was more of an adult, but still definitely a fan, but not at the time when I would be like, that's my guy. I had a Ron Gant jersey, and he wasn't quite famous enough to have his jerseys on the shelves. We had that one, custom made because I wanted to get me a Ron Gant jersey because I liked him.
So little Lamar Kello rocking around a Ron Gant jersey. I respect it. Right. I respect it. Better baseball movie: Bull Durham, Major League, or Field of Dreams? And this is eye in the beholder. There's no wrong answer.
Sure. I Major League is just funny. I don't like. It's too much of just a comedy for me to be a true baseball movie. Bull Durham probably. I like how it's a good entertaining movie, but it's also got some like little intricacies of
realness.
Minor league ball and like kind of you kind of get the impression that this could be real. That could be how it goes. That could be exactly how they act. That could be, I think that one. Field of Dreams is fun. It's a neat movie and a great concept. And I almost got to practice on that field.
Oh, in Iowa.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
played D3 baseball.
Okay.
And we were in the playoffs. And the World Series is up close to there for Division III, and everybody gets one practice on that field. If you make it to the D3 World Series, or at least back then, it may not be in the same place anymore.
Okay.
But I didn't get that close to practicing there because it's not like we got second or anything. But we were in the regional, and we definitely fell short and didn't get to go there. But that would have been
Because
cool.
they played some MLB games there.
Yeah,
in
now
recent
they did,
years.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, they're starting
which
that.
is there's some, and shout out to Crash Davis. Yeah, so I respect that choice right there. Okay, well, Coach, keep your team healthy. Good luck with as we wait on the new stadium being opened up. And I know that this transition from 3A to 4A, but trying to hop over the bar that you guys set really high last year. So appreciate the time today, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, there you
Thanks.
go.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Lamar Kello, for Colton Coons behind the camera, for Chris Level, this has been another edition of Patriot Talk. We'll talk to you next time.